If you know anything about the STI, you know it is one of the premier competition pistols. Now that doesn't mean I can shoot it well, but it is extremely popular in competition. The STI, it has been for quite a while. Let's take a couple of shots with it. Got him, I think. Got him, I think. Yes, it's hard to miss. What about this? Yeah, even. Let's move. Shoot somewhere else. Oh yeah. Oh man. Oh, a finely crafted machine, I guess you could say. And if you know anything about STI, I'm not really telling you anything. Now, you may have some horror stories about STI. I don't know. I've not had experience with them. Back when I was doing some competition, I never did own one. And I was getting more or less kind of burned out on that about the time these came along in big numbers, because they were dreamed up in terms of that grip and everything, the high capacity, the STI in early 90s, okay? And it's about the time I was just going occasionally, but I knew guys were coming in with them and gals and bragging on them, and I had a good friend that put a lot of money in one of these things, and he wasn't one to do that at the drop of a hat. And they were the gun. They may still be the gun. I don't get out on the competition trail very much, but they have an extremely good reputation, I think, still, and are pretty popular, and they're expensive. You know, you're talking $2,000 basically and up. You know, so well, they may have some under that, but as far as the 2011 series, which is what this is, you know, 1911, 2011, you can see right on the side the 2011. That's because they really took the 1911 to a different level. I won't say better, but to another level, really, and updated it, so to speak, with a high capacity frame, because a lot of people in competition were wanting to get more rounds in a 1911 style gun, because the 1911 style guns in competition especially is still, I guess, probably the ultimate platform, or one of them, because you can have such a great trigger like this one, about a 3.5 pounder. It's a nice trigger. And it's the biggest difference between this and all the other guns that were showing up about that time, where you didn't have the capacity of the 1911 that you would with a Glock 17 or some of the others. And so they addressed that, and they built this, it's a, what do they call it, a fiber-filled plastic, you know, I guess another name for some kind of polymer, but it's strong. They built a frame, a lower part of the frame out of that, so that you could have higher capacity. You know, these magazines, these hold 20 right here. The one I started with over here is not a 20 rounder. I think it's a 16 or 17 round magazine. A little bit shorter, it fits flush, you know, okay. And, but you get more rounds in one. And, you know, it's, again, made for competition pretty much. You got a competition trigger. You got that weight there. You know, there's not a rail. I think you can get them with a rail, but it's still kind of a heavy gun, even though you got this you know, polymer plastic frame, more or less, the lower part of the frame. You'll notice the entire frame is not polymer, just the trigger guard and the lower part of the frame. This is steel right here, okay, and even around here where the slide connects is steel. So it's you know, it's got a little bit of weight to it, but that's great for competition. And of course they come in all sorts of chamberings, 9, 40, 45, I think, and 10 millimeter. And I'm not, let's see, 38 Super, I think. I requested a 9 when Justin said he'd send one of these to us. It's just kind of the universal caliber, and it might limit you a little bit in competition. A lot of people shoot a 9 in competition, even with a firearm like this. And you will have to be the expert on that if you do those sorts of games. USPSA, IDPA and the different things. There are only certain classes where you can use firearms that have certain accessories and all that kind of thing. I think this one is good for, you can still use this one in limited limited minor caliber. You got minor and major, 9 millimeters, minor caliber and all that kind of thing. You get fewer points unless you get A-zone hits, then they count the same as major caliber. So if you've ever done that before, you kind of know what I'm talking about. Some people choose a 9 anyway. They feel like they can shoot it more accurately, and they're not going to have many hits outside the A-zone, so they're going to count just as much as a 45 or a 40. But I think 40 is probably the most popular. I don't know. Let's take a couple more shots with this thing. It is a nice firearm, no doubt about it. John and I have been shooting it all afternoon, just enjoying it. Let's go over to Gong. Put a several on him. You feel like you just stand and hit it 20 times in a row. I'm gonna try the red plate again.